Welcome back from intermission, kids. It would appear that I need to update my recording software as well. I had to update iMovie to edit last week. Like, it wouldn't even launch. It was like so out of date. So, okay. We're back for part 2 of our Lucio Fulci double. And I'm going to say, this will be our first Lucio Fulci double feature. We're not going to stop here. Because he had movies before this. Maybe some after. What just happened? Okay. The vodka martinis are hitting just right tonight. And maybe that's because all I've eaten today is a baked potato. Tonight, part 2. It's The House by the Cemetery. Now, I don't know what was the first of these movies. I really don't. I've done House by the Edge of the Park. Might have been Last House on the Left. God, now I'm going to have to look it up. But there were a bunch of movies that were House by the. This was not the first, because I think we're into the 80s now. Read the fine print. You may have just mortgaged your life. Okay. Y'all know I'm renting this place from my sister, and I'm working on getting my mortgage right now. Yeah. And I will be mortgaging my life. I'm 58 years old. If you think I'm going to pay this off before I die, you're crazy. I can't read that font. Starring Catherine McCall, Paolo Malco, Anna Pironi. She's been in something else we watched. Sylvia Colatina with Dagmar Lassander. No, don't know her at all. 1984. Due to the graphic nature of this film, no one under 17 will be admitted. Take that. Okay. Apparently this came out in Italy earlier. Fulvia Films, 1981. So to the States in 84. Fulvia. That kind of sounds sexual. Anybody out there Italian? What does that mean? Anyway, we just covered who directed. Okay. We're jumping right into it here. With boobies and a knife through the head. Oh, snap. Fast forward a bit, and a chap named Norman Boyle is preparing to take over Dr. Peterson's work after the latter's suicide. So, you're a professor, doctor, whatever, and they're telling you, we want you to move and take over this doctor's work that drove him to suicide. His son, Bob. Now, I don't know if we talk about Bob later. I'm going to talk about Bob later. So let's talk about Bob now. Darcy the Mail Girl is always going on about Bob. And I'll echo her phrase in just a minute. Bob is one of the most annoying child characters ever put to film. He's right up there with that kid from Ben last week. Jesus. I may have mentioned that last week, that Ben was like Bob. Annoying. So, Bob, and Darcy always says, fuck Bob. But you all know that. Well, all of you who have Shudder and watched the last drive-in with Joe Bob Briggs. And if you don't, what the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you be watching this if you didn't watch Joe Bob Briggs? Okay. While his mom unpacks, she is staring at a picture of a little girl in the window of an old house. Charlie took his headphones off. I'm hearing machine gun fire. Duck. Run for cover. Upon arriving in the town where Dr. P was working, they find out they will be staying in the very same old house. Norman finds that his predecessor wasn't working on what he thought at all, but something concerning a Dr. Freudstein. At least that's how I spelled it here. I don't remember how it was pronounced. Meanwhile, Mom Lucy is hearing strange noises in the house. Like, creaking and children crying. Not Bob, but other children. After finding that Dr. Freudstein is entombed in the house, which we are told is the custom in New England. Now, to be fair, they are kind of weird up there. I never lived there, but yeah, I've known people. Might be all that maple syrup. Aside from the pixies and maybe morphine, we're gonna avoid the New Englanders. The noises intensify. Norman gets the brilliant idea to open the cellar door. We got noises coming from the basement. I'm in the basement here, but my basement was never sealed. Got noises coming from the cellar. Let's open it up and see what's going on. Maybe it's just a cat. Yeah, he shouldn't have done that. Okay. We're going to summarize now. Pardon me. Hopefully I don't get the hiccups and have to end the show. I read that this is part of a trilogy, much like Dario Argento's Three Mothers trilogy. Only I won't be seeking out the other two features in this trilogy. I wrote here that I'll pair this with Zombie 2, which I did, and call it the first Lucio Fulci double feature. I know y'all horror fans just love Fulci because he really amped up the gore early on. And I mean, that's and I'm not putting you down. Some of you live for the gore. Admit it. I need a little more from a picture than gore. This movie has a very low budget feel. I don't know how much of a budget it has. I mean, obviously you got an Italian director shooting in New England, so it had some budget. But very low budget feeling, and 70s porno music like a decade too late. Maybe that was still the thing in Italy? I don't know. It's somewhat suspenseful, and the gore is over the top, but not plausibly presented. It's just there to be there, kind of. I'll give it an extra X. I'll give it an extra X for the blood being the actual color of blood instead of bright orangish red. And that brings it up to a 2. It's a 2-ring circus here. Why is it doing that? Why am I getting balloons when I... Why am I getting balloons when I rate the show? Okay. Maybe that's just part of the show now. Yeah, it's a 2-ring circus here on feature 2. Now, I'd say that we're going to reach in the bucket and pull movies for next week, but I kind of had to already do that because I got food poisoning last weekend. But I did it right. I didn't cheat. And what we got was spectacular. So we'll be back next week with Attack of the Killer Tomatoes and Frankenhooker. So kind of a comedy horror double feature. Now you don't want to miss that, do you, monkey? Don't want to miss that. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes and Frankenhooker next week on the Late Night Picture Show. Good night, kids.